whether you're a 10-person startup in Palo Alto or you're Slack and have just gone public, for most early stage businesses, there's this, you're sort of chasing this elusive place where you have scale. And the tremendous part about Visa is, after 60 years, we have tremendous scale. So it's a lot of fun to help bring that to bear with some of our partners.
Welcome to the Terry Podcast. I'm Zach Miller. Terry Angelos joins me this episode to discuss his role as Global Head of FinTech at Visa, as well as Visa's broader global strategy to champion the FinTech community. During our conversation, we also discussed today's launch of Visa's FinTech Fast Track program in the U.S., which speeds up the process for fintechs of integrating with Visa and provides them with access to leading technology partners, allowing them to get to market faster with efficiency and security. Terry Angelos is my guest today on the Terry Podcast. Before we continue with our program, I'd like to thank our sponsor, MX, for supporting Tearsheet's work. MX is the leading data platform for banks, credit unions, and fintechs, enabling its clients and partners to easily collect, enhance, analyze, present, and act on financial data. Terry, I know you're taking over as Visa's Global Head of FinTech. Can you give us an overview of what your current role entails and maybe some background on yourself and your experience working with fintechs?
Sure. So I'm currently the global head of FinTech, and what that means is I help structure our engagement with fintechs around the world. And we effectively have three pillars to that engagement. It's partnership, investment, and programs, which I guess we'll talk about a bit today. In terms of my sort of previous background, probably a little unorthodox. For the 15 years prior to coming to Visa, I've been an entrepreneur, mostly in e-commerce and payment startups, going way back to the early days of the dot-com era. But in 2006, I co-founded a payments company and was later CEO of that business company called TrialPay, focused in the payment space. And so Visa acquired that business in 2015. And I've been running that business inside of Visa for the last 3 years or so. And then at the beginning of the year, changed my focus to, exclusively focus on fintechs and, engaging with that, with that community around the world.
That's an awesome background. So how do you think that experience, that entrepreneurial experience, informs, I guess, the way you plan on working with fintechs in your current role?
Yeah, so I think there are three things for which I have a much greater appreciation. The first is speed. If I think back to our days at TrialPay, with a couple months of product planning, we could radically alter the entire product roadmap. And so if it takes 3 to 6 months just to connect to one of the networks, that's a significant iteration of the company. So really appreciate how important speed is. The second is that our company, and I think a lot of fintechs out there, tend to be global from the start. Because you're running a digital business, we have both consumers and businesses who are contacting us from multiple countries. And so we see with some of our fastest growing fintechs that they are tackling multiple markets at the same time. And the third is probably just an appreciation for scale. Whether you're a 10-person startup in Palo Alto or you're Slack and have just gone public, for most early stage businesses, there's this, you're sort of chasing this elusive place where you have scale. And the tremendous part about Visa is, after 60 years, we have tremendous scale. So it's a lot of fun to help bring that to bear with some of our partners. A couple of examples, we have, a few companies today who are launching payment solutions in over a dozen countries at the same time. And so that's hard to do without having a partner that's already up and running in those markets. And so it's fun to be able to bring that kind of scale to bear, in this new role.
91% of mobile banking users prefer using their app over going to a physical bank branch. But it's no longer enough just to offer an app. Customers demand a really good experience. That's where MX comes in. Its new mobile app, Helios, helps banks and credit unions stand out in today's world of mobile banking, going beyond simple transactions and account management. Does your mobile app get thousands of five-star reviews? Does it increase your engagement and lead to higher brand loyalty and ROI? Check out Helios by MX at MX, that's the letters M and X.com. Well, it sounds you're really bridging some of the pain points for fintechs. So I guess as you're building this ecosystem, why are fintechs so important to Visa and the payments industry in general right now?
Yeah, so we've come a long way in our 60-year history. I mean, I think if you were pitching Visa today on Sand Hill Road, you'd probably pitch it as a SaaS platform for payments and commerce, and it's been an incredible run. But there's still huge opportunities for us. There's about $17 trillion a year in cash and check spending by consumers, and about $20 trillion by businesses. And converting some of those cash and check to digital is a very large opportunity for us. There's also, if you look around the world, about 1.7 billion people that globally lack access to formal financial services. So the runway for Visa is significant. I think we tend to live in a pretty unique part of the world, here in San Francisco, where we expect everyone has access to digital payments, but still only about 48% of global consumer spending is digital. So our excitement around fintechs is they are solving many parts of that last mile with digital solutions, access to credit, and effectively bringing people into the financial ecosystem. So that's been the focus, and we're excited about partnering with this community and helping them grow.
So I know that excitement has translated, as you just mentioned, into partnerships and investments in the fintech space. Can you talk about some of the most recent announcements you've made and maybe some of the partnerships that you're most excited about?
Yeah, so why don't I sort of walk through a couple of different areas? I think that'll be a fun way to kind of look at this. So let me start with wallets. There are about 2.3 billion people who are planning to use digital wallets this year. And in many cases, these are, in emerging markets, what you'll often find for a typical wallet is a consumer has connected his or her credentials to some sort of commerce app. Maybe it's, ride share or kind of online delivery. And then that wallet starts to become a full purpose payment vehicle. And so we're partnering with a number of wallets around the world, so that those consumers can have access to Visa's merchants, everywhere where they use those wallets. So if you look at, for example, in Latin America, a company called Rappi, they're the sort of fastest growing on-demand delivery service in that market. We partnered with them to have a Visa prepaid card linked to their Rappi Pay wallet, and they're planning on reaching about 100,000 merchants in their market. Similar story if you look at Indonesia, there is a leading rideshare service there called Gojek. Here's an example where we're both partnering and investing, and basically working together to offer cashless solutions for their digital wallet. If you were to look across into Africa, places like Kenya and Nigeria, we're a partner and also an investor in a company called Branch. They're the most downloaded financing app in Africa. Mm-hmm. And again, we're linking a Visa card to that app so that these generally underbanked consumers, once they have credit, can actually use those funds on their Visa card. So that's kind of the wallet ecosystem. Digital banking is another area where we're focused. About 91% of mobile banking users prefer using their app versus going to a physical branch. And so what we're seeing is a rise of neobanks and digital banks I'll just take a quick example. In the U.S., we're partnering with Chime and with N26. Both are bringing digital banking to the U.S. So across the world we have these various partnerships that are both exciting for us, but very often extending payment flows into new areas. Another example that I think we like as a trend, is payroll. So there's about $150 billion in wages that are earned every week, and are typically stuck in transit because while I might work every day, I'm only paid every 2 weeks. And so one of the trends that we're seeing is something called earned wage access. So if I'm a Starbucks barista and I've worked 20 hours, my expenses occur in real time. So if I want to get paid, I can push a button and have my earned wages sent directly to my Visa debit card. We announced a partnership with PayActive, which is one of the leading earned wage access providers. And so those are some of the examples of ways that we are expanding the payment flows for our ecosystem, and then partnering with some of our fintechs.
I love those examples. Those are a lot of trends that we cover here on the podcast as well. And Terry, I know today Visa is announcing some news about your work with fintechs and with the launch of the Fast Track program, which existed elsewhere in the world, but it sounds like you're bringing that to the U.S. Can you give us an overview of what Fast Track is, and I guess how it plays into your portfolio of work with fintechs?
Yeah, so we've had fast track programs launch in each of our major parts around the world: Europe, sort of CEMEA, Africa, LAC, Asia Pacific. So we're excited now to be launching this in the U.S. And these fast track programs are effectively centered on three things. Speed. How do we quickly bring fintechs into the payment ecosystem? Services, where we are making available concierge services for all of the companies that are in these fast track programs. Expertise. So we have things like office hours and making available both Visa but also partner experts, so that fintechs who are often sort of new to all the ins and outs of payments can leverage all the expertise that we have. And then the sort of final aspect is helping our clients find the right partners so that they can work with the ecosystem enablers, whether they're issuer processors or program managers, in order to sort of get up and running. So that's the program that we're now bringing to the U.S. with a number of learnings that we've had around the world.
Yeah, that sounds great, Terry. So I know it's new in the U.S., but can you give us some examples, maybe like a case study of some companies that have gone through the program and sort of where it left them at the end of the process?
Yeah, so here's a good example. A company called Razer, which is the leading lifestyle brand for gamers, joined our fast track program in Asia Pacific, and they went through the program and they developed a Visa prepaid solution which they're embedding in their Razer e-wallet. So that gives them a sort of open loop credential for their 60 million users who use their wallet. And so Fast Track was instrumental in helping them quickly go through that process to enable that capability. Sticking in with Asia Pacific, a company called Instarem. They're a leading digital cross-border payments company. They went through our Fast Track program, and they're basically building with Visa digital payment solutions. In Europe, we've had a number of companies go through the program. In fact, Europe was the original sort of launch of the Fast Track program. Maybe I'll just pick out one company called Paycell or Turkcell. It's the largest mobile carrier in that market. And again, very similar story. We helped them get up and running quickly on Visa rails, so they can enable network credentials inside of their their various payment solutions.
And can you talk more about the partners you're launching with? I know Fast Track includes sort of this ecosystem build, and how they might be involved in Fast Track going forward.
Yeah, so in the U.S., we've put together a set of partners that we think are best-in-class partners to help fintechs get up and running. These are partners who are issuer processors, program managers, bank sponsors, and partners who can help fintechs get up and running with PCI compliance and KYC AML. And so for the launch, we have a couple of exciting partners. We have Marqeta and TabaPay, which are both focused on issuer processing and push payments. Alloy, which is a partner for KYC AML, and VGS, which is focused on PCI compliance. And so the great thing about the Fast Track program is that all of these partners together enable any fintech to get up and running quickly so that they can focus on what they do best, which is typically some new payment solution or acquiring new customers.
And I know as part of the news, Visa is working with some venture capitalists as well to bring new fintechs into the program. Can you talk about, I guess, their role in Fast Track and how that all works together?
Yeah, so VCs have been a really important part of the fintech ecosystem. Last year alone, there was something like $40 billion invested in fintechs, and that was up over 100% from the previous year. And so we think that's an important part of this community. One of the things that we're doing in the U.S. Is we're working with leading venture capital firms to automatically qualify their portfolio companies into the U.S. Fast Track program. And so at launch, we have some of these early partners are NICA Partners, Ribbit Capital, and Trinity Ventures. And so all of their portfolio companies will be included as part of the program, right from the start.
Sure. And I guess as we get to the end of the conversation, to wrap up, can you give us an overview of what we can expect to see from Visa over the next few months in terms of your ongoing work with fintechs?
Yeah, so we're incredibly excited about the partners that we're announcing today, but we expect to add additional partners, to the program, so that fintechs have a complete set of enablement partners that can help them get up and running. So look for additional partners to be joining, both as enablers as well as venture capital partners.
Terry, thanks so much for joining us on the Tearsheet podcast today.
Great. Thank you so much, Zach.